Welcome to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. Join your host, Alexandros and co-host Vincent Byrne as they walk you through the deepest recesses of the mind and how it operates. They discuss all the reasons why our minds persistently get in the way of our evolution, growth, and our success. But crucially, they also teach you what you can do to change your destiny. And now, here's your host, Alexandros.
Welcome to our 15th episode of Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. I'm your host, Alexandros.
I'm your co-host, Vincent Byrne.
And today...
You have a glamorous assistant.
I have an assistant, yes. Everybody say hi to Lucifer. I think very appropriate name for a snake.
Yeah, especially with that tongue.
I don't know what that means. But
well, just so you can see it.
Yes.
So what does that mean when the tongue is coming out like that?
He's just sensing things. That's how he understands his surroundings.
Okay. How long have you had him?
I've had him for about 9 months now.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Today, I found out that Lucifer had shed his skin for the third time since I got him. And I thought, because I do take my cues from my surroundings, I thought it would be a really good topic for us to explore, since in actuality, what we do on this podcast is all about shedding our old skin and opening ourselves up to new becoming. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Leave the old behind. And what does it mean when a snake sheds its skin? I mean, how often does it do it?
See, this is the most important question, which you always, without fail, ask, my friend. And thank you for this. Shedding skin for the snake means growth.
Okay.
It means that the skin, as it is in its current state, cannot accommodate what he's going to become in the next phase.
Okay.
And so he understands that in order to get to the next level, he needs to shed his skin. He needs to stop being what he was right up until now, and become something else. And how appropriate of a metaphor is that for what it is that we do here?
Absolutely. And so in his case, it's he effectively he outgrows his skin, and he doesn't have the capacity to sort of evolve the way we do. I mean, we're shedding all the time as well on a physical level,
but it's not visible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more dramatic. Yeah.
And if you know me, you know I love dramatic. So dramatic is what the subconscious loves. The theatricality of life is what magicians love.
Yeah.
And so this is a really good way to showcase what the next step might be.
Yeah.
So let me put Lucifer into his mansion, and I'll be right back to discuss the particulars.
Okay.
Say hi, Lucifer.
Goodbye, Lucifer. See you next time. It'll
Bye.
probably be about 3 feet longer.
All right. So think of this, which, by the way, I have to mention, I don't know if that gets too sensitive for certain people, but snake skin is an awesome magical metaphor to be conducting a ritual with. If you didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
If you need me to, I can send you some pieces. Okay. So that you don't have to go out there and buy it.
Mm.
So what happens during the shedding of skin? For these snakes, from what I understand, it's like what in human terms called the dark night of the soul.
Okay.
So this isn't, this is like, journeying on ayahuasca and going through the hero's journey to get on the other side so you can actually get all the information needed in order to grow to the next level. That's what I see when it comes to what these guys are doing. The snake does not eat during the shedding skin period. Isn't that interesting? Like he fasts. Mm-hmm. Now, since he has shed 3 times since I got him, I think maybe he's listening to our podcast, and that's why he's growing so fast.
Growing quickly.
But I mean, here's the thing: and they eat mice, of course. Now, I hope people know that. Oh my God, poor mice. Well, I tried to feed him vegetarian shit, but he's not interested.
No.
He doesn't want to be a vegan like yourself. Does it mean he's evil? Well, his name is Lucifer anyway, so.
And so how long does it take to go through it?
Right. So it takes several weeks. So here's my point.
Okay.
When I got him, I fed him once, and I fed him a mouse. And that was the last time he ate. Now, I've had him for like 9 months now. He shed 3 times in a row, and he has refused any food throughout all this period. Which to me, because I pay attention to my surroundings, pay attention to everything, because everything around us is showing us a level of consciousness, a level of experience, a level of understanding that we need to pay attention to, as far as I'm concerned, right? Because everything reflects the same kind of reality that we are exuding, because as within, so without. So the consciousness that is revealed within me today in this moment is reflecting on everything around me that lives with me. And that is my family, that is my dogs, that is my cats, that is my snakes, that is my chickens, my turkeys, my goblins. No, I don't have goblins. I don't think I have goblins. But so then I look at this and I pay attention to the fact that he's not eating. So he's fasting. Think about that. That is such an interesting concept, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, well, it's like fasting. It's interesting because I'm about to kick off a 21-day juice fast. I was actually going to just do a water fast, but I'm going to do juice fast. And I mean, one of the things that I've learned is that animals, when they are unwell or they're injured, they don't eat. And the reason being that they want to allow all of the focus of their internal systems to work on healing themselves. rather than divert the attention and the energy to digesting food. So they focus their energy on what is the most important need at the time.
Exactly.
And that is, in this case, healing. Yeah. And I mean, it's a practice that has been carried out from ancient times. I mean, it even managed to find its way into religious rituals as well. They would say it was part of the Bible and whatever, but actually it's been going on long before that stuff.
Yeah.
So people, fasting is really important to do, and yet we have a stage where over the last 100 years we kind of eat all the time just because we can, and the ability or the awareness to fast is something that is not appreciated. It's probably treated as it's a religious thing, so people reject that unless they're deeply religious. So I think the rest of us tend to just eat ourselves silly and don't realize that the body needs time to regenerate and to heal, and that's why fasting is so important. So so it's interesting. Animals do it intuitively.
That's right. So what you just mentioned has to do with, of course, our conditioning. You see, we in today's society, we associate food with, I think, three things. We don't really associate food with growth. For some reason, food is entertainment. Food has become entertainment. It's become a social event. And this is why, restaurants are so popular out there, right? Now we're on lockdown because of now slowly starting to open up, and people are so excited. Oh my God, I can go to a restaurant again. Because the process of actually preparing your food and the process of actually consuming your food as a source of energy are not concepts that the average human being right now is related to. So eating becomes, once again, something that's visceral, something that's about entertainment, something that's about it's what's the word I'm looking for here? Hedonistic.
Yeah, and it's a superficial practice.
Yes.
As well. I mean, it's just do it for the sake of it. And again, given that we've spoken about it on previous episodes, the way in which advertising teaches us about food and what we need to get from it drives a lot of our consumption. So on the one hand, you have the likes of McDonald's who are, filling everyone who eats it with nothing but shit. And then on the other side, you have supposedly more thought out, more considered advertising where they tell you things like drink milk for healthier bones. Exactly. And this focus and obsession that we have with protein and all of this kind of stuff and carbs, and it's like they've managed to break it down into messages whereby the first question that I get asked when I say I eat a plant-based diet is, where do you get your protein? I go, well, where do all the animals the very large animals that eat a plant-based diet get their protein? They make it from what they take in. But the advertising and the conditioning, it has us full of these false beliefs about what actually is happening with food and what it does.
Right. So, well, as a parenthesis here, the one question to ask is, how long have you been doing this for?
5 years.
Okay, 5 years. In those 5 years, did you sense your system being deprived at all? Did you sense having any less energy than you did before, or have you felt that your health is declining in a way?
No, it significantly improved. That was one of the reasons, that was the principal reason why I did it, was because I didn't want to take prescribed medication, and that there was a way of addressing how I was feeling, lack of energy and all that sort of stuff, through just changing my diet. So that's what I did.
I guess there's your answer, right there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've had conversations. I mean, I rarely go to the doctor, but I've had a couple of conversations with my GP who has said to me quite seriously that you won't heal anything with diet other than overweight. So when the doctors are being trained to diagnose and prescribe rather than actually look at people's holistic health, and they are preaching the message that it's nothing got to do with what you put in your mouth, how your health is, then obviously everyone else buys into that as well, because that's the message that's been put across, and that facilitates the advertising. We don't have it here, but you get enough subliminal messages. But I know you have it in the States, where there's open advertising of drugs. Basically, over here it tends to be the lighter stuff, the paracetamol and all that sort of stuff. But there's lots of other messages which are coming through which say that you need to get medical help, and that means you need to get a prescription drug to fix your problem.
Wait, so then they tell you that your health is not regulated by what you put in your mouth, unless what you put in your mouth is this pill, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So yes, it's back to the fasting thing. I mean, I think your Lucifer obviously operates on his own internal system, I suppose. And that's the one that all animals do. And I'm sure if we were left to our own devices, that's what we would do as well. We would be eating at certain times. We would not eat at certain times. And we would allow ourselves to get back to a much more self-regulated way of living, which is probably significantly better for our health than what we're doing at the moment. We eat because, as I said, because we can, because it's in the fridge, because it's in the supermarkets, and all the focus and promotion and all the conditioning is telling us to ignore the green stuff and the orange stuff and the stuff you meet as you walk in the door. Just keep going past that and go to the boxed and the canned and the frozen and all of those stuff, because that's what's been advertised to you to eat. So
right. So shedding skin. Once again, let's go back to what the snake says. The snake says that I have to grow, and so in order to grow, I have to shed my skin.
Yeah.
And let's take it back to, although all this information is brilliant as it is on a physical level, but since we're talking about conditioning, and that same conditioning is what has made us not care about that aspect. It's all about gluttony and hedonism. It's all about party. Once again, we come down to the same concept, that the prevailing thought in today's society is have fun and fuck it.
Yeah.
Because who cares, right? But it's as people get inwardly awakened, their consciousness expanded, because everything that's happening currently is creating certain conditions for that shedding of the proverbial skin, which is our prior personality, if you will, our prior beliefs, limiting beliefs, of course. This now is the time where we have to start understanding that in order to get to point B, if you are point A, you have to be doing things entirely differently than when you were at point A. Because,
Yeah.
right, in order to, and of course, it's no point A because we've all hopefully been evolving since birth. So let's say you're at whatever point that you are in your life, and you had to completely let go of any prior beliefs, any prior understandings, any prior consciousness of how things are and what things are about, and the mission that you have or not have, and your destiny, and so on. You had to let go of these things in order to be where you are now. And now you will have to do the appropriate shedding of the proverbial metaphorical skin in order to get to the next level, which would be you in an entirely different, improved, and extended awareness and consciousness, so you can actually see things from a different perspective. It's like, being myopic, severely myopic, and somebody puts a pair of glasses on you, all of a sudden, right, your entire life changes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't unsee it.
That's right.
Yeah. But the thing for me with the idea of shedding the skin, whether it's shedding a previous behavior or whether it's shedding a previous conditioning, for most people, the opportunity exists numerous times in their lives, usually as a result of some event happening, whether it be they're hit with illness or a tragedy or some kind of event, which is it stops them. And at that point, there's a choice, and the choice is either to go through this particular issue and be different, having come through it, and behave differently and think differently as a result of it, or to just try and get through it so that you can get back to the thing that you had before. And what we're going through in this lockdown with the pandemic thing, to me, is that's a big picture metaphor for what we could be doing on an individual basis. So there will be people who will come out of this and they will have seized the opportunity to be very different to the way they were when they went in. And then there will probably be, sadly, the majority who will just be glad that it's over so that they can go back to being the way they were before.
Yes. And that's brilliant. From the perspective of the first kind of people that you mentioned, I would say every time my internal guide is that when something undesirable or uncomfortable happens, it happens because I need to be forced into an understanding that I couldn't get to on my own just by regulating myself.
Sure.
So when things are going really bad, from my perspective, they're showing me what I should be doing, which I didn't do. And now nature is forcing me to. We are here to grow. This is the only reason why we're here. And this society, I don't want to call it consumerism society because it sounds cliche, but really, this is what it's all about. It's a hedonistic society. And go ahead.
But I was going to say that is it not that like consumerism has been effectively used to almost to sedate us, so that we worry about the next pair of shoes, or we worry about, you know, whether we're going to have McDonald's or Burger King or Chinese or whatever tonight, and it's all very short term, as you said, hedonistic, but it's a distraction for us thinking for ourselves and making real choices for ourselves, both in terms of in the moment to actually, is this what I should be eating, and should I be taking the time to prepare some fresh food? In the same way as I have that decision, the other decision is, where am I going with my life? What am I doing with my life? Am I doing something positive with it? And I think all of this, as we said, let's call it the consumerist thing, is deflecting us from asking those questions. And that's why I think that when we are hit with a large event like we have at the moment, that people are just scrambling to get back to the thing that they are used to and are happiest doing, and they don't have to think. It's like, when I have to think and make choices, it's just too difficult.
Yeah.
And as a consequence, only a few, relatively speaking, are prepared to see this as an opportunity. The people who, for example, will get an illness like cancer and will say, it's the best thing that happened to me because it changed my life. It created that opportunity. But you get a lot of other people who will say it was the most horrendous thing, and I was just glad to be able to get back afterwards. So it's to me, all of this superficial stuff, the hedonism, etc., is just us being sedated.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Now, and since you mentioned the cancer thing, that's actually a really good example, because I know people that have survived cancer, and I know two kinds of people that have survived cancer. The first kind is the people that are like, I've been fighting cancer, and I fought it. I fought that mother, I fought it, and I won. Right? And then there's the other kind of people that understood that cancer was really an angel that came to me to showcase that I had to change my life. And the second kind of people is the kind of people that will move forward majorly, because once they overcome, because they have learned something, not because they went to war. Do you see? Because in this society, right, anything we don't like, we go to war with. Especially in the US, we're very familiar with that, right? War on drugs, war on poverty, war on this, war on that. And what happens? I mean, what has happened with all these wars, right? It's like war on drugs. Okay, so is it over? Did we win? Of course not, because it's all a state of mind that is there to lull us to sleep. Because if someone else is waging war on something that should be a general individual responsibility, then we don't have to worry about that, because the government is taking care of that. You see, government is waging war on drugs, so it's out of my hands. Now I can go and get some beer and do some barbecue, and everything is cool. See, so the same kind of way of dealing with the cancer, which is exactly the general current understanding of the medical industry. Isn't it funny that we call it an industry? So this isn't about healing. No, it's about treating the individual as if the individual was a vehicle, a car. Going to the mechanic. The mechanic is like, oh, you blew a gasket. Whatever. Let me fix that for you. So this is a major problem, because if we don't understand that these things come up to show us, they are divine interventions, you see. these problems, the so-called problems, come up because we need to get an understanding, which the way we had been going, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
So your higher self, if you will, if you want to call it that, as far as I'm concerned, the higher self is down there and be like, look, this asshole is not going to wake up. It's not going to get, because he's too distracted. Not to say that, myself included, we're all that asshole. Okay. I'm not pointing fingers and saying that you out there, how dare you? No, we all get so heavily distracted with everyday life because we are thrown hooks all the time. In every way that we turn, right? We have to just fight some fight. Oh, my internet is down. Netflix isn't working. My Chinese restaurant is closed. Whatever. I have to come up with solutions to bullshit problems that shouldn't be consuming my energy, which is my life force, which once again is my magic, which is what I'm manifesting with.
Yeah.
So this system is I was going to say divined, and perhaps that would be the right word, is divined to create constant confusion, constant fear, and constant fight or flight reflex, root chakra, so that people don't have the capacity to look for the underlying cause of things, because all they have to do is just, save their ass now. Oh, I had to escape that trap, So this is what happens. But then again, this ailment, this disease comes up. And in my perspective, I could be entirely wrong, but in my perspective, that thing is there to slow you down, to make you pause so that you can understand what the hell is going on in your life, right? This is a very short timeline. Once again, what are you here for? What are you here to do? You're here to do something. Is it just screwing around, having a good time, being hedonistic and gluttonous? Maybe, if you want that to be your purpose. But it really doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. So,
but the thing I would suggest on that, and as I've said to you before, my own mantra is I knew nothing until I was 40. I mean, I wasn't consciously doing any of that. I was just doing what I thought I should be doing to live the life that, to live a good life, which was working really hard, stupidly hard, and trying to maintain a lot of things, but not really. When I realized it afterwards, I didn't realize that I had a sense of purpose. I didn't realize that I could set a purpose for myself. I didn't realize any of that. And I think this comes back to the conditioning. We are not led to believe that we can set our own course. Like you can choose yes, you can pick that career, certainly, that's the extent of it, or you can pick who your life partner is or whatever. But really, that's just superficial stuff when you compare it to setting your course, setting your purpose as to why you're here. And I think, again, that's something that we're not taught. It's consciously suppressed, because that would have all these people wanting to self-actualize if they were told that was their purpose. And that's not revealed that that's what we need to do. So I think that's a lot of the reason behind people being very hedonistic. I think they don't know what they don't know. And therefore their behavior around trying to find a purpose is to work harder to get that promotion, and then work harder to get that promotion, and then get the bigger house, and all of that sort of stuff. And at some point, they hit a brick wall in whatever that looks like. It's their marriage breaks up, they get an illness, there's a sudden death or near death kind of experience, whatever. And that is what usually brings people to a place of, what is this about? And then it depends on how prepared they are to start to look for the answer to that question, versus, I don't really want to find the answer to that question, I just want to get back to doing what I'm doing. That's the fork in the road when those situations are presented.
Well, as I say, it's the fork that pinches your ass. See if you're done.
Yeah.
Yes. I am. Yeah, of course, you're right. But I'm not. What I'm saying. I'm not putting an accusatory tone in my voice. No, I am not accusing people of living life hedonistically. Of course, I understand that they don't know what it is that's happened, because they haven't had an opportunity to review their lives in that way.
Yeah.
And that becomes a problem. So we just, as far as I'm concerned, need to be able to scan our existence on a daily basis. I mean, this is what meditation should really be about, you see. Meditation, okay, you take inventory.
So it's to become aware, like Lucifer is.
That's right.
Lucifer's aware that it's going to go through this process, and it knows that it must do certain things in order to facilitate it. So therefore, knowing that that's happening, it then participates in the process.
That's right.
And that's a very conscious thing. And whereas, by contrast, I would suggest that most of us are blindly going around caught up with superficial things, not having that level of awareness, not knowing what's going on, and that it requires something to pull us back to say, hold on, let's meditate. Let's
of course
contemplate.
Look, if Lucifer the snake has the awareness that he needs to go through a period of solitude, a period of being uncomfortable, a period of being in the darkness, quite literally, actually, because there is a cloth in his mansion that he prefers when he goes through these stages. He's not even out, because he can see beautiful sunlight in this whole thing, right? So it's not like I have him in a dungeon. So he prefers to actually go and hide. He hides in the darkness.
Okay.
Because I guess what that shows me intuitively is that you have to be able to go there in order to actually take inventory of your own darkness. Because this is the only way you can grow. Because then you find out what the pieces that you don't need are anymore. And in his case, the pieces he doesn't need anymore are pieces of his skin, literal skin. But for us, I think it should be a lot more complex and a lot more rewarding than that. But having lived and grown up in a society that does not reward that inner process, as a matter of fact, it vilifies that inner process. That inner process becomes some kind of woo bullshit that, I mean, really, who has time for that crap? Right? Just show me the money. Isn't that the prevailing phrase? Show me the money, mother father. Right? This is what's really going on. And if you grow up like that, I mean, how can you expect to have any different kind of perspective unless there's a nagging force from inside of you that is pushing you to understand something different.
Yeah.
And this is what it is that we are advocating on this channel. The fact that everyone is looking for the law of attraction. Everyone is looking for the law of manifestation. But what they manifest or what they want to manifest is a lot of the times irrelevant to their growth. As a matter of fact, a lot of the times it is counter to their growth. Because once again, if you are trying to manifest based on the same kind of hedonistic and gluttonous general understanding, feeling, approach in life, in your life, then if you were to manifest, what would you manifest? Right? Let's say I have to disclaimer that shit every time. It's like I am not out to offend anyone, but I'm saying if your purpose in life was to eat the most delicious foods ever, okay, let's say this is what your life was about. I am not saying this is wrong. I'm simply saying if that's what you were about, and then you started going through all these laws that we have been presenting here about manifestation, about affirmations, about this, about that, in order to attract the reality that you want in your life. So if your ideal reality is having access to the most delicious foods ever created by man, then what would you manifest? Right? You'd be manifesting that.
More of the same, yeah.
And then ultimately, how would that help your growth? In the same sense, okay, let me put it another way that more people would be able to perhaps
ended by
25, because we're like, what's wrong with delicious foods? Delicious foods are awesome. Okay, fine. So let's say that you were a heroin addict, and being a heroin addict, I have to believe that no one around can actually claim that being a heroin addict is awesome. Okay, let's just, or crack addict, whatever. So let's just admit to ourselves that being a drug addict is not serving you much. So let's say then that this is what you're about. You love the drugs. You loved the cocaine, you loved the heroin, and therefore now that you got a glimpse of how to manifest that which you love, you started manifesting a reality that was plentiful of these kinds of drugs that you love so much. Another parenthesis, I don't want anybody to be like, oh, how dare you, addicts are not, they don't want to do that. They have no choice. Fine. I'm just bringing up an example. Yeah. This is an example, okay? So I'm saying, assuming that you loved your drugs, assuming that you loved being an addict and got a hold of an ancient secret that allowed you to manifest exactly what you wanted, and what you wanted was more of those drugs. Would that help you grow? Would that help your growth? Right?
Yeah.
So going back to the shedding of the skin, you had asked me something about dreams the other day, and it was funny because the two things got combined. I had a good friend of mine who has been going through my course, and told me that for several nights in a row, he's been having dreams of snakes. And it was horrifying to him. And he says, what does that mean? Of course, the truth of the matter is that the meaning of dreams, which is the subconscious attempting to speak to you, to communicate with you, is personal. It's tailored to the individual. That is to say, I mean, you could say that there's general symbolism for things. In this case, I'll say, my best guess would be that this guy was having dreams of snakes because he was undergoing the process of shedding his own skin, of transforming into a new person. Okay. Because of the change of his consciousness, the change of his individual awareness. So the dreams were reflecting that. So yes, the dreams actually are extremely important in the esoteric traditions, be it shamanic or magical, or what have you, ancient philosophies and practices. As far as I'm concerned, that's the case. Did you have another question on that?
It was mostly about the use of dreams to, I suppose, to get them working for you. The idea that, for example, if you're looking for the answer to a question, that if you state the question before you go to sleep, the possibility that some kind of answer or prompting could appear when you're asleep, or when you wake up the next morning, that something comes into your head at that point, which could potentially solve the problem or give you the idea you were looking for, or whatever. So it was really related to the idea of sleep and dreams, and us using them from a positive perspective, as distinct from, say, the subconscious speaking to you in the way it was with your friend.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, I believe that this is a great practice. If you start you can start training your subconscious to be revealing in the manner that you want to receive answers to your questions. And in order to do that, yes, before you go to sleep, start contemplating some. One of my teachers told me a great way of actually start building that up, and that is to envision, to visualize something that is entirely out of the ordinary, and command in some way your subconscious, right before, when you are in this thin kind of line between being awake and being asleep, to project that object, that thing, into your dreams. When you start actually having a dream with that object in there, that is a really good indication of starting to train the subconscious in that way. And therefore, the more you do that, the more you develop that communication between the two. Right. In this case, through dreams, because the communication can happen, in very many ways, of course. So this is one of them. And then, like the thing would be like a pink elephant. And when you saw the pink elephant in your dream, then you'd have confirmation that there is a dialogue going on here. So once that's there, it becomes very exciting, because now it becomes like a game, right? And the more you do that, the more you can walk yourself through actual lucid dreaming, which is dreaming while you are aware of being dreaming, and yet your dream is not being interrupted. Right. And lucid dreaming can actually, in the magical world, create and accomplish great results. Okay. And what if you're like me and you can't actually remember your dreams? And if you wanted to start to try to remember your dreams, what would you do? once again, command yourself. When I was a kid, I don't know if I mentioned that story to you before, but I had a very terrifying reoccurring dream when I was like 5 years old. And this was, it kept on happening, kept on happening. It was based on a very abstract thing. It was like something was pushing me, like some force was taking me out of my bed, and some unseen force, and compelling me to go in my, when I was growing up in Athens, we had balconies there, you see. So it was compelling me to just go all the way across the house and go out into the balcony, and then was pushed in some sense off the balcony, and I would fall, and right before I hit myself on the ground, I would wake up. So that thing was so disturbing to me that one of the nights when I woke up from it, in cold sweat, I actually said to myself, I remember that, I was 5 years old. I said, "You will never remember your dreams again." And guess what? For a lot of years, that was the case. Reoccurring dreams stopped entirely. So there is always a reason why these things are happening, and trauma could be one of the reasons. So you start instructing yourself that it's okay to, right before you go to sleep, you're on meditation, it's okay. It's this is like reconditioning yourself. It's wonderful to be able to dream. It's also to be able to remember all of my dreams. It's great. I'm looking forward to that. So this is an affirmation. So you're preparing yourself. The more you do it, as with everything else, you are giving your subconscious permission to unlock that side onto you and give you access again.
I mean, there are certainly lots of times when I remember pieces, or I'll wake up and aware that I was dreaming. But as other people have described it, where I can almost tell the whole story to you, once they wake up. I can't recall ever been able to do that. So, yeah.
Well, it's a good time to start.
Yeah.
Start.
So given that we're nearly at an hour again, we've managed to do that. And coming back to the original theme of Lucifer's skin and shedding it, what are we saying as a kind of a closing message to viewers and listeners to us this week in terms of the concept of shedding and the need for it in order to move forward? How can, obviously Lucifer is aware, it's in his nature to do it, so he knows what to do. And I think we've discussed the fact that it's in our nature as well, but somehow we've lost connection with it because of conditioning. So how do we start to bring that back so that we can develop that awareness to be conscious of making a decision to move into our next stage of growth?
Well, the best way that I know how to do this is to understand that every uncomfortable step is a step towards that direction. And when I say uncomfortable, I don't mean, start sleeping on a bed of nails. I mean, the stuff that you have to do, like, for example, let's say you hate the fact that you're overweight. And of course, as we have established many times, most times the subconscious is very lazy and won't go through the steps of reversing a situation unless it feels that there's reward behind it. There's stuff that it can actually enjoy. So start taking the steps that you have to take. In other words, like the fasting thing that we mentioned. But don't do it. Do it start doing experiments with yourself. Is what I'm saying. Start experimenting, saying what's gonna happen if I don't eat for one day. I ate nothing. I just have water or juice or juice or something something of that nature. What's going to happen? And in this sense, you can start seeing yourself responding in a certain way, and that way is within the first few, I don't know, 7-8 hours, your system is going to go into a shock and be like, oh my God, we're dying. It's just in the fan. I'm going to die. I have to eat. And then, if you start disregarding these warnings, you'll see that once you relax and let half an hour go by, you will step into another level of consciousness where your system is not going to be losing its shit anymore, because it realized that, that thing didn't work. So now, I'm trying to navigate what's happening right now. Oh, what is happening anyway? In the same sense that if you knew you had to, we've all seen those kinds of movies, right? Where the person gets stranded in the woods, or, and it's wintertime, and what was that movie with Revenant or something? I don't remember.
Oh, The Revenant.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Where I haven't even seen the movie, but I've seen the trailer, and it suggests that someone steps into a situation where they don't ordinarily expect that they would survive or thrive in it. But then what happens is that some other awareness starts kicking in when he feels like it has to, because otherwise, the game is over, right? So we allow ourselves to step into uncomfortable situations where otherwise we would think that, oh, that's not good. That's not going to work out. But by stepping in there, you realize that, yes, it is going to work out. And by pushing yourself a little more every day to that uncomfortable situation, you realize that what you thought your limitations were are not. Like your limits are massively more expanded than you thought that they were. And so you are not going to lose if you keep on stepping forward. And as Jim Morrison stated, just testing the boundaries of reality.
So move towards the low level practical stuff you can do is to keep moving towards discomfort.
That's right. Yes. And the more you do that, the more your subconscious gets a firm idea that not only is it okay to do that, but, I feel like I'm a little more energized now, or I feel more confident. Or look at me. I'm not a total asshole like I thought I was. I actually have some value. And then so the more, if you sit down, people are like, oh, I'm not going to write a journal because I'm horrible at writing. Right. And that ends there. But what if someone put a gun to your head and said, you can metaphorically put a gun to your head and said, if I don't write a journal entry, whatever that may be, it doesn't have to be an award-winning piece. If I don't write one, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
This is a certain reconditioning of the mind. And then you can make certain pacts. Actually, the course that I have mentions that. You can make a pact with yourself that says, if I manage to survive 30 days of continuously doing that one thing on a daily basis, I will be granted the next level, which would be a massive reward. And then, of course, I'm moving on to yet another level. But if I break that pact, something horrible will happen. It's like, you have to think of it I think of it in a way that that pact is being made with an ancient god, or a demon or something. They wouldn't be like, oh, okay, fine, don't worry about it, just do the next thing. No, there is zero mercy here. If you show no mercy to yourself when it comes to accomplishing something, one thing, then watch what happens next.
So what we're saying again in terms of shedding the skin is that every time we step forward into something that's uncomfortable and face it head on, we're effectively letting go of that old skin and we're moving into it. So we're constantly shedding the skin if we are constantly moving towards discomfort and pushing the comfort zone.
That's right.
Okay.
And we make as the Toltecs put it, we make more of the unknown known. See, as Carl Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, you will spend your life, and I'm paraphrasing, dealing with the same bullshit over and over again, and you will call it fate.
Yeah.
So this is what it is that we're here to do. This is soul work. Because this is what we get to take with us on the way out. See, that's the operating system.
But it's also, I mean, it kind of speaks to the stuff that Mark Manson, in his Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book, says that, the search for happiness is not about finding a situation where we're happy and everything is wonderful and and everything is easy and all that, which is kind of the perception a lot of people have. If I win the lotto, everything will be easy and it'll be fine. And he says, no, it's actually being happy. We're at our happiest when we're actually struggling, when we're trying to deal with something that's difficult, and we get really happy and satisfied when we've dealt with it, when we've learned that difficult language or instrument, or overcome the particular problem. We actually get this added boost of adrenaline and excitement because we have actually achieved and overcome. And that kind of sets the scene for wanting to do more of that and more of that. But it often dissipates fairly quickly when we go around the corner and, as he said, we find that other 500-pound pile of shit that we face. And what we need to be doing is embracing that and finding a way around it, and know that this is what living and this is what growing is all about.
Yes. And to close this, that's actually a concept that we should deal with on a subsequent episode. The concept of happiness, once again, in a neuro-linguistic spell, happiness to most people in today's world means joy. And joy is a constant state of elation, which, as far as I'm concerned, is some kind of hell. But I mean, this is what we're all conditioned to want, right? You ask them, hey, are you happy? When someone asks me if I'm happy, I don't know what to answer them. Because you know why? Because I don't know what they're asking. Now, what do you mean? Am I in a constant state of joy? No. Am I happy the way I understand happiness is? Yes, absolutely.
I think it's an interpretation, which I suppose I think is out there, is that, is everything going your way? Is everything easy?
Right. Yes.
and
Which
you
once
know, when
again,
everything is going your way and there's all slotting in and there's no challenges and it's like happiness is the absence of challenge and struggle. That's what we're actually striving for, when in fact it's the opposite of what we need.
or as John Lennon said, happiness is a warm gun. Look where that got him.
Look what it got him, indeed.
On another episode, I'll tell you a true story about what happened when John Lennon went to a Greek psychic back in the day, and that was close to his assassination. It's really
Okay.
So here we are once again, having grossly overstepped our boundaries of our time realities, because we don't believe in time and space. That's what it is.
No. And we do believe in pushing back the time comfort zone regularly.
That's right. So thank you, everyone who lasted up to this point. And until next week.
Let's be careful out there.
And don't let your mind kill you.
Thanks for listening to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You with Alexandros Megas and Vincent Byrne. If you like our show and want to make sure that you don't miss an episode, then we would love if you would subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And you'd be doing us a big favor if you would support us by leaving a review as well. It would also be great if you would take a screenshot of this episode on your smartphone and share it on social media. So join us next Wednesday when we talk more about mind hacking and taking back control of your life. Until then, have a great week.